Could I maybe ask Connell if there's anything I think you've left out, then I'll answer it. But a lot on the market closer to you anyway.
You can't say to your chief executive that he's cheeky, can you? I suppose there are a couple of things. The question from Yuri, was it about the non-prototypes? I mean, how do you tweak normal agricultural programs, if you like, bringing nutrition? I mean, I think it's what Victoria was saying about getting some common agreed indicators in there. And, you know, when we look at proposals, concept notes proposals all the time, as I'm sure most of you do, it's, you know, trying to make sure that there are particular indicators that are always being hit. I mean, we're doing this around gender empowerment at the moment. So, I mean, I think that to me, that's one of the approaches that you would use to do that. I think the second question that I would probably answer would be around Colin's question about the cash transfer programs. We do actually want to answer this question. I mean, it's part of this community resilience program, which is one of the questions we want to answer, is in a sense, you know, what role does social protection play in terms of nutritional outcomes? We had a researcher working with us in Niger, which was a really interesting experience, because we thought that was the question that they were trying to answer, which was, you know, how are cash transfers giving nutrition or affecting nutritional outcomes? But unfortunately, the research wasn't set up to answer that question. So it is something we want to do. I think it is an important question to answer. Obviously, the evidence on it is quite mixed. So, yeah, I think there's not a lot more to say on it, I think.
Please.
Yeah, a lot of questions.
Can you speak into the microphone? Just
Sure. Sorry, I didn't see a red light. I didn't even know they were on. In terms of tweaking programs outside of that aren't traditional nutrition programs to make them more nutrition sensitive, it's really hard to say unless you actually have an example, but certainly looking at gender considerations within the program and how the program might impact on the just allocation or changes in resources in the household, especially how it would impact on the women's control of resources. I think enough studies exist that show when women have control of resources or adequate time, income, or other factors, that they have a good success in nutrition outcomes with their children. So gender considerations would be something I'd always include. I would always look at the impact on families' ability, price structures and their ability to access food. A lot of families are net food purchasers. So that would be clearly a lever that could make or break nutrition at the family level. So looking at prices and their ability to access food. And also aspects of crops, the types of crops that are being promoted, and who's controlling the crops within the family, and so on and so forth. And I think we need to differentiate agricultural programs from horticultural programs. And maybe I'm in a room full of agriculturalists. I don't want to get shot, but it's a different type of beast, agriculture and horticultural programs. And I think those two programs, the latter lends itself more rapidly to family of food production and nutrition outcomes at that level. But then you have major policy levers on the staple food programs. In terms of stunting, if we can reduce stunting, we're going to increase productivity. I can't remember the statistics offhand, but I think a 1% decrease in stunting will result in a 1.6% increase in productivity. So that would be immediate, you know, in the long term. But that's what we expect based on studies done before, and certainly decreases in mortality. The British government actually took the height of all military conscripts in the 1800s, and the height of conscripts went down and up depending on public health circumstances. It was really, really notable, and it's called Height, Health and History in Britain. And it's really a fascinating book just to see how height reflects public health conditions. And I can't remember any of the other questions, so that's me.
Tijen, you want to come in? Or you okay?
Well, I just make a couple of very brief comments. One is, you know, I think understanding the society that you're dealing with is so critically important to designing a program that's going to work. We've invested a couple of times in anthropological studies to really get to the granular detail of people's lives. And on the basis of that, that has influenced some of our program design. I think perhaps we need to do a bit more of that. I mean, there were as part of the whole community therapeutic care, we did a study in Malawi, which was actually very important in giving us insights into how women use their time. And that was important in terms of how we then designed the program. In Niger, after the food crisis in 2005, we did a study with Durham University in 2006, which showed really that it were deep cultural practices within the family, which actually were of more importance to explain the levels of of severe undernutrition, more so than the availability of food. So, I mean, it is actually getting those insights, which I think are important. David's comment about, and it connects to something you said earlier as well, what's the economic cost of undernutrition? I think that really we need to be better at highlighting that, because that's a political point. I heard 6 or 9 months ago that the African Union were involved in a study called the Economic Consequences of Malnutrition. I don't know where that has got to, but I mean, the sooner that is produced, particularly if it comes up with clear-cut solutions that can be sold to politicians, the sooner the better. And just a final word, really, just to say thank you to the bank for the tremendous opportunity to be here today, and for what has been, I think, a tremendous exchange.
Let's give him a big round of applause. Thank you, Tom, and the other panelists. Much appreciated. Thanks to all of you for taking the time and staying overtime. Have a good one.
Yep. Great.
Yeah, pleasure to see you.
So I'm getting serious.